Yes, that is right, folks. I'm going to be interviewing the guitarist on the original Halo game, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hmura. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jack. I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, same with yourself. And we'll get into all the Halo stuff a little later, but you've done a little more than that, than just Halo. So we'll get onto some of the stuff you've done. The first question I'd like to ask, though, is how did you actually get into music?
Well, it's just a long story short. Is my sister started playing guitar when I was very young, and I heard her playing, practicing in the room, and I said I like that, and I asked my mom and my dad. I said, can I take lessons too? And I was 7 years old, so I was a very young boy. I wasn't really listening to music at the time or anything, but well, I heard the radio, of course, So, but that's how I got started. And then I started lessons, and I kept with it. And she quit, and I moved on.
And I believe that around that time, you actually got to what sort of continued you into staying in music. Is that one day you actually got to meet B.B King? So, what was it like actually meeting him?
It was just truly astounding. I was very young too. I was 11 or 12 years old. So I'm meeting a man with a big hand, a big guitar. I'm a little small guy. So, but when I saw him play on stage, that's what solidified my like the instinct of the guitar to go, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to play the guitar, and that's what you do with the guitar. Because when you're a young 7, 8, 9-year-old playing it, you're just learning things from a guitar teacher that doesn't really make too much sense. It's just playing little silly songs and things. And when I saw BB play, I thought, oh God, that's what you do with the guitar. You make the guitar sing and talk. So when I met him, and then at the end of the show, he was graceful enough to come out and sit down and have everybody, whoever wanted to come and meet him. And my mother, of course, pushed me towards him and said, "Go, let's get introduced to BB." And so I met him, and he gave me a little autograph saying, because of course my mother said, Harry, my son plays guitar. He's been playing, and then BB's kind of like, oh, he must have heard that 1,000 times. And so, but he said, okay, Harry. He said, to Harry, stick with it, B.B King. And then 8 or 9 years later, I'm playing with a group. It was a blues group called the James Cotton Blues Band. James Cotton was a harmonica player. He just passed away recently. He was the harmonica player for Muddy Waters for a long time. He played on Muddy Waters' big hit, Got My Mojo Working. And so I got with James Cotton when I was 20 years old. And no sooner I got in with him, a month or two later, we were all playing together a show in New York City at the Radio City Music Hall. And guess who was on the same show? B.B King. So his little autograph to me, just held through and said, stick with it. Well, I certainly did. And the show also had Muddy Waters on the show, Johnny Winter on the show. So it was quite a thrill to say, you meet this man when I'm 11, 12 years old, and then 8, 9 years later, you're on the same, sharing the same stage with him. It was incredible.
Yeah, that is probably a full circle moment there for sure.
Exactly.
And as you mentioned, you actually did play in Radio City in New York. I visited it there, but I never played it, obviously. But
Right.
but what was it like actually performing to such a venue like Radio City in New York?
Yeah, that was breathtaking. It was moving, I should say, just your whole heart and spirit. You get out on stage. The stage is just, it's huge, and the audience, of course, it's a big theater. But the backstage was very interesting. There were these elevators that went up to the different dressing rooms. I'd never seen a dressing, that backstage area like that before. So it was really interesting. It was just soul shaking for me anyway. You get done and you're like, wow, I just got done playing at Radio City Music Hall, So, and it was one of the first big shows or big venues like that. When I got into Cotton, I happened to be in the band at the right time because it was just a month later we were in New York City, So it was new and fresh to me. So I was a young kid, playing on a stage that I was quite marveled by. A lot of fun though.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. And you've also toured in other places across America and Europe, I believe. So, what was the sort of places that you went to?
Well, in Europe, I was working with another blues artist, harmonica player, Sugar Blue, who had recorded with the Rolling Stones just a few years prior, and he did the harmonica solo on the big song "Miss You," "Lord I Miss You" by the Stones, and so he had quite an audience in Europe. So we played everywhere from Spain to France, Belgium, Holland, and Switzerland, all Western Europe, and we played pretty much throughout all those countries. It was, and we did some major festivals as well too. They were quite another just thing for words. Just spectacular. And jazz names, we were on the same, like you would, I don't know if you'd be familiar with, but there was people like Dizzy Gillespie and Lionel Hampton, Dexter Gordon, and we were playing on these jazz festivals that also had some blues, artists as well too. So um, it was, and then again, I was 22 years old because I'd stayed with Cotton for a couple of years, and I went with Sugar Blue. So once again, it was eye opening, and just traveling all over the place. Europe was just phenomenal. We would tour like 4 months at a time, come back home for like a week or two, go back 4 months, come back 2 weeks, go back 4 months. And it was really nice, really interesting.
Gee, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And what was actually your favorite country to actually tour in?
Wow, I have to say they were all just truly remarkable and to me amazing because it was so new to me. France, I guess, was pretty darn special. They were, when you're in places like Paris and Lyon, France, and we went down to the south to Nice, all the way up north to Le Havre, and we're also, like I said, we were playing with a lot of great names that are in the business from jazz to blues. So the other countries, they were just cool. We weren't staying there as long. France was probably more of the mainstay for a lot of the because we would tour the entire country. We would go into Holland and Switzerland to play certain festivals, a couple of venues, and then go back. So, but when you go to these other countries, I mean, it's hard to pick one because they all have their own story, and it's just what they're all about. So, when you get into a different country, the people, of course, make that country. The food, the beverages. It's you're going into different places all the time. So as I recall, a lot of that was just very eye-opening, very refreshing to say, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm going here. You're eating this, you're doing that, and you're meeting great people all over, great musicians, great fans, great audience." It was just. I wish I could be doing it again, but tours don't happen like that much anymore. You don't stay out for 4 or 6 months like that at a time. So
No, not. I don't see it that often unless it's like a massive, like real, like 100 million
right.
views band or something like that. It doesn't seem to happen as much, which is a shame, to be honest with you. Um, and you also, as you mentioned, you collaborated with various other people, various other bands, and all that. What were the sort of people that you worked with? How many bands were you in? The differences between the lost, and yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of different styles that of bands and things that I worked with. Um, Prior to the James Cotton band, which was my very first professional band that I got into when I was 20 years old. I was in my teens and I had my own rock and blues bands and stuff. It was no big deal. But after James, then came Sugar Blue in Europe, and then after Sugar Blue, I came back to Chicago and I started my own fusion rock band that was playing a lot of original music of mine, and it was a fusion style. And so I worked with that quite a bit, maybe for about 10, 12 years. And then I got into an artist. He was a smooth jazz keyboard player, and smooth jazz like started in the mid '90s. And I got with him and recorded on his first three records and did some uh, co-writing and producing of some of the songs with him. And then we did like just some national tours, throughout the United States. And then that like led, that was another style that of what I was doing. So blues, fusion, rock fusion, smooth jazz. And then I was put out some of my own records that I was getting influenced by some Latin style music because I was going to Mexico a lot. I was also performing down there quite a bit. One of the major cities I was performing at was Guadalajara. There was a couple of one particular jazz club that I would go and play, and the owner would, have me come down, and so I would stay for a couple of weeks. And when I was there, I was just getting influenced by Latin music as well too. So I started writing a little bit more. You want to say maybe Santana fusion, kind of stuff. So I had that kind of flavor. That was I put out 2 albums like that as well. Pardon me, and then. And then I just started kind of falling back to the blues thing a little bit because I got back with James Cotton in 2011. And so that was another full circle that I thought, wow, I started with him when I was 20 years old. And then, X amount of years later, I'm right back with him. And then, of course, who came knocking on the door again? Sugar Blue. So it went full circle with both artists. That's kind of interesting when you stop and think like, wow, how the hell did that happen? So, but it did. But I also did a lot of studio work as well too back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. Chicago was the mecca for a lot of jingles for doing TV commercials, radio commercials. And then I worked with a producer. We did a lot of TV shows on cable TV. So we did a lot of things on A&E, Discovery Channel, ESPN channel. What else? Biography channel, History Channel, the Weather Channel. We did a lot of music for behind pictures, behind the shows themselves.
Gee, and actually, speak to me a little bit more about the TV commercials and the programs that you've actually worked on. So, what sort of ones did you end up doing? What commercials?
Yeah, a lot of the commercials were some of your big names, of course. Your Kraft. There's Kraft products here in the States, which is Kraft makes anything from mayonnaise to whatever. There's your McDonald's, commercials.
Hey.
There's what else? I mean, there's so many different product names and things too, as well that you would do. Obviously, you wouldn't have in Dublin, of course, but a lot of food products, even anything from car wax, to shine your car. It was just all kinds of different things. You didn't know what it would be for. So, but that kind of covered the gamut of TV commercials and like the radio as well too. And so the other producer I worked with, and by the way, going back, let me say that the producers I worked with that did a lot of the TV and radio commercials. Well, that's the writers and producers of the Halo music.
Ooh, so I think we might as well jump onto the Halo stuff then. I think we might as well, since you brought it up. So,
okay.
as you said, the people that worked on those commercials were Marty O'Donnell and Mike Salvatori, and you got to work on the original Halo Combat Evolved game, doing the rock anthem for saving the world. So, how the hell did you end up doing Halo?
Obviously, since Marty and Michael, we all knew each other because I had worked with them for quite a few years doing the commercials with them. They were starting to branch out. They had they did the sound design for a game called Myst. Is it Myst, I think?
Yes, Myth. Sorry, no, it's not Myth. It's Myth: The Fallen Lords.
Something like that. Okay, right. And they only did the sound design. They were doing all of this, the effects that were in the. They didn't do any music. Pardon me. And as far as I know and understand, they were branching out like that a little bit as well to do other projects. And the jingle business here in Chicago started kind of slowing down and going in a downward slide. So, fortunately, Bungie reached out to Marty, and they wanted to, hire him and Michael to be a part of the company to start working on this new game called Halo. So they called me like the day before the studio and said, Harry, we got like for you to come in the studio tomorrow. We got something that we'd like, to have you work on. I said, okay, no problem. And so I get there and I asked them, so what are we doing? They said, well, we're putting some music to a video game. And I was a little shocked, like a video game, because prior to Halo, what kind of video games were out there? Pretty corny ones. There was Mario Brothers. There were what else? Frogger and Centipede and whatever these other things were. They were just kind of goofy games, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean we're doing a video game music? So I almost, pardon me, I almost felt like this is kind of crazy. So anyway, they said, well, yeah, I didn't really like verbally tell everybody that. I was just kind of thinking it myself. So, because I'm like, oh, I mean, the only video games I knew was just the simple little corny music, to Mario Brothers and all that other stuff. Were there other games out at that time? I don't know, Jack. You tell me.
Yeah, there was actually. One of the people I interviewed, like last year, named Johnny Giueli. He did music for Sonic Adventure, and he did vocals for one of the tracks, and that was in 1998. But that was around the time where it was starting to get more serious, and games could actually add these types of music. It wasn't really known at the time. It was really just sort of 8-bit chiptune stuff like the Mario stuff, or maybe if you're a PC player, some old MIDI files.
Right. Okay. And obviously, if those games started at that era, I didn't know about them. I didn't play video games, so I wouldn't have known anyway. So that's when I walked into the studio and they said we're doing a video game. I'm like, what? So I'm thinking Mario. I'm like, oh, here we go. So and then I heard the music, and it was the rock anthem. Take the guitar out, and if you just listen to all the drum and it's like, ooh, this is cool. So Marty, I said, so Marty, what do you want to do? He said, Harry, just do your magic. Just put whatever you feel on. Play what you want to play. And I'm like, okay. So they started up the machine, and I just started ripping, and we got done, and everyone was like, that's perfect, that's great. So that's pretty much how that the song, the Evolve, I should say, was. It was the very first one, and after the session, I walking out of the studio saying goodbye to everybody, and I thought once again, kind of even, I think I may have even said to Marty and Michael, like, this music is for a video game? So like I wasn't putting two and two together. And yes, it was. And then, of course, it came out, and it was the largest selling game in history.
Gee, that is just absolutely nuts. And you actually mentioned there, was that the whole bit that you played, was that all improvised?
Yes.
Gee.
Yes. That just came off the cuff, right? Right out of it. That's all it was. There was nothing written because the music was there. That's like what Marty said. They just said, Harry, do your thing, do your magic. And I said, okay. So I started playing. I think it was only like maybe a couple takes. I know, like, as far as I can recall, it may have even been done in one take, if I'm correct. But or we did two and we chose one or the other one, So, but it was all off the cuff, and so it was pretty much my what you want to call it, my composition. But I'm not, I'm composing it while I'm improvising it, So anyway.
Yeah. How do you actually learn to improvise the way that you did on the rock anthem, for example?
Well, that's just over years of experience, and having, being a studio musician at the time too, you had to kind of cover a lot of different styles, of course, because you didn't know what you were going to play. You could go to studio and all of a sudden they want you to play something that would be very country or something, and you go, well, you got to be able to play some country. Or if they want something that's R&B and soulful, well, you have to do that. Or if they want something rocking like it did for the rock anthem. So, over all the years, I did just play, and I've listened to a lot of different players and was inspired by different players. And so, I developed my own style. So like when that song, and I heard that whole drum and the whole groove going on, it just drew it out of me. The improvising is pretty natural, so that's pretty much where it all comes from. So, if you only play and like delve into one style of music, then you're only going to be able to do that one style. So, but yeah, I can play rock and roll. I can play some metal, and I can do this and that. I'm not going to say I'm the top metal player or something, but I mean, I can play it. So, but there's other great guitar players that do that. Of course, I mean, there's Eddie Van Halen, who was such a creative, inspiring guy. He developed that whole finger tapping thing that just was out of the world. It was great. So, but yeah, that's pretty much just having that background of playing a lot of different styles.
And you also did other music in Halo, specifically Halo 3 ODST for the Skyline track. Now that was a very grander game, very different style of game, especially in its soundtrack. So it even had different composers alongside Marty and Mike, like Stand Apart and everything. So what was it like working on Halo 3 ODST?
Yeah, that was it was a lot more. It wasn't that. I mean, I still did a lot of everything from in a sort of improvising way, and none of that was really written out except on Reach. There was one song that called "We Remember." The melody line was written.
Oh yes,
yeah. So that melody line, I knew I had to play that, but then afterward came the solo thing, and I just improvised on that one once again. And as far as going back to the ODST Halo 3, that was, I think, a much more tamer, if that's maybe a good choice, but no, I should say more ambient and infused with methodical and lyrical style. Like some of those tunes, like when I played my guitar, I was playing it at a more, I guess, want to say lyrical and just having it sing and talk, and not so much of the fast things like of course rock anthem was. And I liked it because it was. I love playing like slow ballads and things as well. Anyway, but I remember one of the, I can't recall the name of the song, but I remember I was in the studio, and there was like a window that was looking outside. We started the song, and I just started like looking outside, and I started playing it, and I got caught, like I just was floating. So I was playing, and I'm listening, and I'm just staring out the window. When I get done, the end of the thing comes in, and Michael just said, "Wow, that was fantastic." And you feel it. You just go, "Oh," I said, "Well, yeah, that was really, that was a good one. Let's go with that." We listened back, and everything was great. So yeah, that one was very cool. I would be in there a lot longer, of course, in the studio, on the specific days because we had more to do. So you just kind of fall into these cool little vibes of where the song is taking, and well, we can talk about "We Remember" in a second as well too. But there's that Halo 3, that was pretty much a little bit more in that sense of me making it strong but ambient at the same time. And I know I just found it very, very much more in a lyrical sense for the songs I played on.
yeah. Because there was there was some grand ones here and there, but every now and again there'd be like a nice old jazzy sort of stuff or very ambient sort of stuff, and it was very unique sound. Like no Halo game has really done the sound of ODST since, so
Right.
it's very, very unique sounding. And going back to ODST for a little bit as well, some people have kind of like maybe written in like YouTube comment sections where you play the guitar or something, and they'd be going, "Oh, imagine that guitarist playing with that orchestra there." Did you ever play with any of the orchestras, or is that all just sort of backing tracks?
He did all the orchestras. Yeah, I would just play to the music that he recorded because Marty had moved out to Seattle already. So he was recording the orchestras in big studios out there. So, pardon me, then they would just send the music and the files to Chicago to Michael, who was staying here pretty much. So then I would just play to the tracks, inside the in their computer. So it would have been fun to be there, but no, I mean everything's pretty well separate when they do that. So, but I know, pardon me, Steve Vai, who had played on the second album. I mean the second game. he did play. He had an orchestra behind him in L.A. I think he played at the Hollywood Bowl, and he did like the whole Halo 2. You know, a lot of stuff that he played on.
Yeah, I think he did that for an anniversary version of Halo 2, actually. He went to the Skywalker sound booth, I think it was,
Okay.
right there, and did that. And then I think for the his first time in Halo 2, I think it was actually similar to what you had. It was just come to the studio, play on the backing track, that's it, done.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I saw a video of him doing that, and Marty told me too. Yeah, he just came in the studio and did the same thing. The tracks were there, and he just, he did his thing. But and of course Steve Vai is like, one of the gods of guitars, of course. But I do, I have to kind of, just laugh or not. I'm sorry, not laugh. I just more like, they called me back to do number 3 after Steve Vai did number 2, and I'm like, wow, okay, thank you. That was pretty cool.
Have to fill into the shoes for Steve Vai again.
Right? Yeah. Okay, Steve. See you later.
Yeah.
So and Steve, I mean, of course, he did his own style of playing on there with all his cool things he does with his whammy bar and all the other stuff. But I think they knew that, since like you said, ODST was a different flavor. It had a different vibe to the thing. So they knew Marty and Michael knows my style because they knew me for many years, playing on the commercials and things and stuff. So they knew I was like the fit for that particular game for number 3.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, imagine like a little jazz track, and then you have Steve Vai just going woo, woo.
Exactly. But
just throw you off almost instantly.
Yeah, yes, of course. But of course, I mean, Steve Vai, yeah, you're number 1 here. Go in front of me. That's fine. I'll wait back here. So whenever you're done, I'll come into the picture then. So, but yeah, it was just what great fun that record was. It was. I mean, I keep calling it a record. I'm sorry, that game, because I'm thinking of the soundtrack, the CDs. That, in fact, kind of right in front of me, right here. But yeah, ODST. I'm trying to recall some of the tunes I also played on Traffic Jam.
Ooh.
Right, I think, yeah, the Traffic Jam. There was that one as well too. I don't think it says on the liner notes like which tunes I played on. It just said I just played, but anyway, it was that game 3 was pretty cool. It was nice.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And as well as that, you did We Remember on Halo Reach. It's one of my favorite tracks in the games. So what was it like playing on that particular tune?
That one really, man, my heart was just that it was just flying when I did that song. And I remember, here's the cool story about this too. That had the melody line of the single notes, that I played, and that was the Marty said, please, he called me from Seattle. He says, yeah, play the melody line, and then after that, just do your magic. And I said, okay. And so we started laying the tune down, and I was putting some of the rhythm bottom tracks in there, and just like getting some low notes. And I said, wait a minute, Michael. I said, hang on a second. Bear with me. This is going to be cool. He goes, what? I said, just hang on. So I have my cool little effects box that I'm playing through and a couple of different pedals and things. And the song has a very low note, B flat, I believe. So what I was hearing this like real sonorous bottom end kicking your butt, like this low end that's just going to take over like your whole, body and stuff, right? You know how like real bottom end and bass can like, make your heart palpitate a little bit if it's really loud, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like, Michael, check this out. So I tuned my 6-string down to a B flat. Now that's getting pretty wobbly, I mean, the string is pretty loose at that point. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm looking at the bass, like the names of the notes of the chords, that would be played. I'm like, oh, I got to think about this as I play it. I'm gonna have to replay. Where's a G? Where's an A? Where's a C? Because it's gonna be totally different on the location of the fretboard now, right? So also I used, and I said, Michael, check this out. I had an octaver pedal, so I brought the sound of that 6-string beef another octave down. So it's like it's way down in the register, right? And we started playing it, and I saw Michael's eyes light up, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. And so if you listen closely, and there's like halfway through where the lowest note or chord goes all the way down to a B flat, you'll hear it, even well, before that as well too, but all that cool low end is me, and it's playing with an octave pedal. And I think that's what made that song come alive, because it's just the strength of the bottom. The strength just gave that song a lift. And then when you got the stuff on top, I got done with it. We listened to it, and I was quite wowed. I said, this is really cool. And Michael said, yeah, I'm glad you gave me that idea, or you gave your idea about using the octave pedal and tuning your guitar now. So that just, to me, it gave just that real, like, strong bottom end sense. It was so cool.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely one of the best of the game. In fact, it actually is one of the final. It actually is the final track that plays in a Halo soundtrack created by Bungie.
Oh,
so
really?
it was actually, in a way, it had like a different meaning. Not only is it kind of like we remember the planet Reach, it's kind of also like we remember these 5 Halo games that we've been playing since like 2001 to 2010. And so for that to be like the last track in the Bungie games, I mean, it just adds an extra meaning to an already great track.
Oh, Jack, I didn't know, because see, I've never played the games. I can't play video games. I'm awful. I can play the guitar and I can play the music, but I am just terrible playing. I can't do this thing with the controllers and things. So, but I didn't even know that, and now that does make sense. How cool that they decided or chose to end it with that, and say, like, because I didn't even know there were that many games. Seriously, because I didn't. You had how many? You say you had Halo Combat Evolved, and then you had
Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach.
Okay, I didn't know there was a Plane 3. See?
Yeah, there is a Plane 3. I have Plane 3 here. Where is it? There it is.
Who plays on that? Is there any guitar player?
There's not. I don't think there's a single guitar player in Halo 3, the main one.
Oh, I never saw that.
They just had like a massive orchestra for it. And then there's 3 ODST.
Right, there's that. That's the one. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you played those games, right?
Oh yeah, I do. They're like, they're classics. There's some great stuff. I've yet to play the campaigns of 2 and 3 because I'm kind of there's like a really scary level in Halo 1 that's like a little too scary, and I'm trying to beat it, but it's so scary that I'm like, oh god, no. In fact, I think Marty actually voices the scary character, so if you're ever speaking to him anytime soon, you can tell him, what's that creepy character in Halo 1 that you voiced? He'll tell you all about it.
That's Marty who did that?
Yeah, he did
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's even in the first Halo game, there's a choir section called the Maw, and he's the choir.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You have to speak to him about that. If Halo ever comes up in your chats, you have to talk to him about that stuff, because there's a lot of mad stuff there.
Nice. I'll have to. Yeah, next time I speak with him, because I didn't know. I had no idea. But like I said, I never played the games because I just wasn't. I'm not a gamer at all. Like, I mean, back in the day when there were those little simple games that you could play like at a bar or something, like called Frogger or Mario, you play that a little bit, and then I would walk away. It's no big deal. So, but the gamer guys who really are into all these different games, they're so good at it, and they, like yourself, that you know all these different. So I've never bought games, never played them. So I'm only playing the guitar instead.
Yeah, which is good. It's good. It's good to play the guitar. It's better to play something than nothing. Now, we're going to go on to a little bit of other stuff that you've done that isn't just Halo. But before I do that, I actually want to speak a little bit about your guitars, because you've been playing guitars for many years now. So I'm wondering, how many guitars do you actually have? Do you have any sort of like guitar collection? Because there's some people I interview and they have like maybe 2 guitars, and then there's some I interview and they have like too many guitars.
Very true. Yeah, it's each person has what their own for what they want to do with them. I have a lot of different style guitars. Most of them are pardon me, are made for me. They're custom guitars. I own a couple of big name Gibson, and I have a Martin acoustic guitar. But total, I think I have like about nine or I don't even count them up anymore. 9, 10, or 11 of them. But like I said, some of them are for different reasons, and because like back in the day when I would do a lot of the jingles, you have to have different styles for sounds. If the producer wanted it to sound kind of honky tonk country, or you want to be using a certain style like a Telecaster or Stratocaster. Um, if you're looking for this and for that, you have to have acoustic. I have a blues dobro, what they call, like where you play with a slide, and a couple of different acoustic guitars. And so yeah, it's for styles and for sounds, for the sound quality of what they produce. So even like when I'm like recording myself for an album or whatever I'm doing, I think to myself, what am I looking for this song? And then I pick and choose with the guitars.
Gee, that's pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure it was a good use for your solo work as well, having those multiple guitars. One I'd actually like to speak about first is one called I Am, which is an album that has you playing guitar, and it also has a bunch of apes and monkeys singing along. So where does the apes come from? Because from what I've heard, it's quite interesting.
Thank you. I'm glad you found it interesting. It's this whole ape thing fell in one evening by watching a program on a public broadcasting show here in Chicago. It was Channel 11 PBS. And to make a long story short, it was a story about a woman who was trying to open up a sanctuary in Louisiana that was going to rescue and get chimpanzees out of biomedical research. Because over the years they have the what is the name of them? God, it's the Department of Health. I can't think of the acronym for what it is. Um, they had bred and originally captured many chimpanzees way back in the day, and then they bred them to be used in biomedical research. And so when I heard about this, and I heard this woman was trying to do that, I contacted her. We became friends, and I started going to a lot of sanctuaries all over like throughout the U.S. and in Canada. There's one as well too, just outside of Montreal. And I met a lot of these apes, and I became friends with a lot of them. Okay, I know people say what, and so meaning friends that I would come back and visit, they were excited once again to see me. They knew me. They it was like the interaction. Jack, I can't even begin to tell you what it's like to and I would play my guitar for him as well. And that is really special when you can share something with a different species that enjoys it and wants to be a part of it. There's no words for that. It's something else. So I thought, what happened was Jane Goodall. I don't know if you ever heard of this woman. She's a famous primatologist.
I recognize the name, but that might be because I researched stuff for this interview.
Well, this is how I Am came to fruition. Jane Goodall was visiting a sanctuary in Canada, the one outside of Montreal, called the Fauna Foundation, and she blurted out to the staff that just came out of her mouth, "Wouldn't it be lovely?" She's English. "Wouldn't it be lovely if somebody put music to chimpanzee vocals?" So the staff, which were some of my friends, relayed that to me, and I said, "Wow, that sounds like a challenging thing." And I thought, well, let me start recording some vocals and different. So I was going to the sanctuaries myself. I brought along digital recorders and I started recording and I sent some to different sanctuaries as well because I couldn't make it to every one of them. But and so people were sending me some of the stuff, and then I had friends that lived overseas in different areas like Indonesia that were working with primates, the orangutans out there. And so anyway, so to make a long story short, I got involved with all these sanctuaries. These apes became a very big part of my life. I realized how miserably they were treated over all their years of living in unbelievable situations in these laboratories. And I mean, it's actually quite disgusting with what they had to endure. So I did this album to raise awareness for all these sanctuaries and raise money for it. So I did the album. It was quite a painstaking process in a way, because I had so many hours of recorded sounds, vocals, and other sounds that they would do, just by natural things, and so the whole entire album is all natural. There's not one library sound on there. All the background sounds, including insects, the wind, the rain, everything else, is all natural. It's all recorded by myself and colleagues, and so I had to come up with an idea. What the heck am I going to do for the album itself? So it became this sort of storytelling. It's basically a story. It's from start to end, and it's just how they live, how they get captured, how they have to be subjugated into laboratory research and things like that. And then, of course, they get released into the sanctuaries. So the music I found was very interesting to write and compose, because I had to say to myself, wait a minute, if I'm going to be using all these apes, and I had to sit down with all the ape sounds and decipher myself what was going to fit per song. Where am I going to? Oh, these guys doing this is going to be perfect for this kind of a vibe, or this one that's going to be better for this kind of a vibe. So it was not an easy task. I enjoyed the heck out of it, but it was quite some time in the making. So um, and after all, what I had to do is say to myself too, that when I'm writing the songs and composing them, if I had them kind of like, because some of the times you hear them, they are like singing, because of course they're not singing like we do, but they have the pitches. So I had to write and compose songs in key centers that were around their pitch, because of course I didn't even think of that when I got started, but I started writing songs like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. They're not in the key center. So I had to redo things. That's what I'm saying. It was really a challenging and interesting project I did. So I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. And have the apes actually heard any of the tracks on I Am, or maybe reacted to, oh, wait, that's my ooh ooh ah
Of course. No, but you know what? They hear the voices, and they do look like, that they recognize it. They're like, who knows if they recognize their own selves? I don't think so. But and then again, who knows? Because they're extremely intelligent beings. They're sentient beings. They are very, very much like us. Their their social worlds are very complicated, and they have their own, of course, their own ways. But they do really enjoy music. When I play my guitar for them, it's really remarkable.
Gee, and what's it like actually playing for an ape? I mean, like, it must be a crazy experience.
It is, because the first time I went to it was a sanctuary in Florida, and it's one of my favorite places to go to. And it was the first time I brought a guitar to play for him. I had been to the sanctuary a couple of times, and so the very first time I brought the guitar, as I would go to from one area to the next area, because they live in these very large enclosures. They're huge, and so I was with the owner, and so of course the owner, all the apes know the owner very well. They're buddies, they're pals. So as soon as she would come over, and I would bring my guitar, they would come right up to the enclosure, like looking like, oh, what's going to happen? I start playing my guitar, and their eyes and their motion, and Jack, it's unbelievable. It's really like, there's no words. Then they start moving, and they start grooving to the music, because I'll play a certain rhythm, like a pattern, so they can feel it. And they do. They move like anybody else does. You know, it's not, they're not going to tap their foot like we do, but they do get into a rhythm, and I've seen it. I tell you how many countless times they do it. I've got video footage of some of this stuff where they sit there, they sway to it, you know. But they watch TV, they look at magazines, they thumb through magazines and things too, because you know they need things to keep themselves occupied and busy like we do. You know, if you just sit there and just stare at the wall, you're going to go nuts. So, uh, but they listen to music, they watch, because there's TVs in the different, like in their night rooms and stuff like that as well too. So, but to play music and share that universal language, that's the big thing right there. Just remarkable.
Yeah, that is crazy. The whole Ape vocals thing, and do check out Harry's album I Am. You can find it on his YouTube channel. And another album you can find on your YouTube channel is one of your latest ones, All I Need. So, what was it like making this particular sort of album?
Yeah, that was my one of my first rock and blues albums that I did over all the years. Like I said, I had so many different styles of things. That was a lot of fun because I used a couple of the players that I just love playing with, the drummers and stuff. He's a badass, and he really, and a bass player as well too. He kicked it, and so just to play with them and have this different style. Both of the players play a lot of everything as well too. They play fusion, they play jazz, they play this, they play that, and I just I said I want to do kind of a rock and blues, and they said okay, let's go for it. So that was interesting. Some of the stuff was done separately, where the drummer would send me some tracks. Other times we were together. The bass player would come here. He would do tracks at my little home studio here. Um, and then of course, just after every get done recording the different tracks, and you could hear the personalities of everybody playing. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a very, very good album. And will you actually make any more future albums? Because honestly, from the ones I heard, they were very good.
Yes. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm in the process right now. I will should be done with this next one probably in the next couple of months. I should be in the studio mixing it by then. Just wrapping up a few of the tracks. I have a keyboard player that needs to play some things on some tracks as well too. But for the most part, all the writing is done. All the songs are in the soft programs and things, and so um, it's going to be another kind of a rock and blues album as well too. And I'm looking forward to it because it's also going to have a couple acoustic. One with using the dobro slide, which is like that Mississippi Delta kind of thing, and then one just like an acoustic kind of a fun little bluesy fun song. Uh, but I'll certainly let you know
All
when
right.
it's I'm going to release it.
All right, well, I'll look forward to that for sure, and I'll probably play it when I'm on, whenever it comes out. I'll give it a little bit of airplay for sure.
Oh, very, very nice, very good. Did
Yes.
you have you played anything from All I Need at all?
No, but we'll do that a little bit around the end of the interview. We'll do that around then, I suppose. I
Okay,
have like a few last questions, and then we'll wrap up.
okay.
One actually about your new YouTube series. Yeah, you do a new YouTube series now called 3 Minute Guitar Clinic. What's it like doing that? And yeah.
Listen, I decided to start doing that as I've taught. I've had students pretty much all my career. Um, I like teaching, and it's not a full time thing. It's kind of a part time thing, of course. And so the 3 minute guitar clinic, I just thought, what, it'd be nice. It's a nice way to reach out to folks that that I don't know, and it would be to go to YouTube, and if they can learn something from it and pick up something that would help and enhance themselves. I like that. I like to help people out as well, too. And then I think what I'll do with it, I'm going to just go in different directions. But like now, I'm just starting off kind of a lower, below intermediate. It's kind of a not a beginner, but just a little bit lower than the intermediate, and people can pick up on it. And it's just about it really entails a lot of licks and ideas and phrases and things that people can either take and use or expound on and do things with that the way they want to. So, and then I think it'll grow, and I hope to grow a larger audience that way as well too. Because I know a lot of guitar players and other musicians do that, as well too. They have these instructional series, but I think with the Halo thing, I'm trying to get some Halo people involved and all that too. So we'll see where it goes. But it's starting off. It's nice. I got a decent amount of nice little crowd right now.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And my last sort of question relating to the whole guitar stuff, and it's actually one my mom suggested to me, which I don't know why my mom suggested me a question, but she did. So we'll go with that as the one of the last ones. And that is, do you actually prefer playing lead guitar or rhythm guitar?
Oh, that's interesting. I really prefer lead. But yes, I mean I could do that all night, But rhythm can be interesting as well too, because it depends on what you're playing and what song or what style. You can be very creative as a rhythm player, and if you don't know how to do that, then rhythm is boring to a person, So, but I will be doing that on a 3-minute guitar clinic. I'm going to get into rhythms at 1.2 to show people that you can take this one simple idea that everybody would play, and then I go, okay, now you can alter that 3 different ways, and all of a sudden you got another way to approach it. You have different color, you have different quality, and yeah, rhythm's fun at that time. But I mean, I don't want to play rhythm all night long. I definitely want to be doing solos and leads, for the most part. But yes, to that question, tell your mom lead. Lead guitar is number 1.
All right, I will most certainly tell her that. And with that, we could go on all day, but I know you have a gig to do and everything, because you're gigging and everything. Right. I'm glad you are, and all of that. And I have another interview to do in a little while as well. So with that, thank you very much, Harry, for coming on. Is there any sort of last things you'd like to say? And would you like to plug in any of the socials?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of good stuff. I have a website. It's HarryHmuraOfficial.com, which has my bio and all that, and some music as well that people can listen to, and a EPK that you can download. But thank you, Jack, for having me. It's nice to I like the way you were, your questions were asking different things about the different topics and stuff. So it's nice. It's not just like one topic. We covered a lot of ground. So you're good there, Jack. I like
Thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed. And is there any sort of last little track of yours? We've already played practically all the good Halo ones. So is there any other piece of music, maybe one of your originals from one of your albums that you'd like to play?
Well, I mean, All I Need album, I would you could either play the song Why, which is one of my favorites off that record. And there's an instrumental on there that would be like it would be more on the Halo side of music, because there's no voices, there's no vocals. It's called Amazing Hot Places.
All right then. Well, Why is coming up next. And Harry, thank you very much for coming on. And yes, speak to you soon.
Thank you, Jack.